What's up everyone? Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Then stay tuned for the body manual. I am so excited for this talk because it incorporates the first 3 talks, which were stress, movement, and food. And I'm super excited about this talk because it means a lot to me. Because I was a sick kid. I was sick all the time. I had strep throat once or twice a year. As a kid, I had ear infections at least once a year, and those were so painful. I had asthma. My first asthma attack was in 3rd grade, followed by really bad allergies and heartburn. So I wasn't like dying sick, but I had all of these conditions where I had a pill for each one of them, and I was just miserable because I either couldn't breathe, I wasn't allowed to go do things because I'd be allergic to it, or I was just in pain with severe pain in my chest from my acid reflux. And I was on Zantac 150 as a kid, and that's twice as strong as what you find in the store. So I was on 7 different puffs of an asthma medication morning and night, and I remember sitting inside my house or inside like our camper where we went camping, listening to like other kids play outside, and me being like, I wish I could go outside and play with them. So I've been through this. I've been sick. And between 9th and 10th grade, I had shingles. So my immune system all growing up was just crap. I was not a healthy kid. So I've been through this journey that a lot of people are on now. High blood pressure, high cholesterol, asthma, all of this stuff. And so I get not feeling 100%. I get feeling kind of meh about, oh my God, I wish my body was smart. I wish it knew what to do. And the good news is it does. It really does. Your body is intelligent. And over the past 15 years of going to undergrad, going to grad school, and then just continuing my education, and I'm kind of a nerd, and I'll look back at my textbooks and I'll be like, oh, let's learn about whatever today. And it's really nice to not have to take an exam on what you're reading and just be able to read it and enjoy it and skip over stuff that you don't care about, like the color of a basal cell in a microscope. Like, no one cares. Well, some people care, but I don't. Nor do you, probably. So this talk is going to talk about immunity and how our body is intelligent and it knows what to do, but we're sticking it in an environment that it was not designed to be in. Because the human body is 300,000 years old, and it's been evolving for millions of years before that from the models that came before us, like Homo erectus and all of that stuff. So our body is intelligent, and it's been learning about our environment for the millions of years. But, you know, here comes the Industrial Revolution, here comes electricity, here comes computers, and here comes working from home or working out in an office or in a cubicle where you're just sitting there all day. And then all of the food that we eat is processed and we're constantly stressed out. All of that, which is all part of those first couple talks, so check those out. All of that affects our immunity, and it's making us sicker and sicker and sicker. So I'm gonna get into what we're doing, how intelligent the human body actually is, and ways to stop interfering with it. I am still on this journey. I haven't crossed the finish line. I'm still on it with you guys. And depending on who's watching, you might be at the very beginning of this health and wellness journey. You might be right where I am. You could be past where I am, and you're just trying to get bits and pieces because you're actually doing a pretty good job as is. And you'll kind of be able to tell where you are in your journey as this talk goes on. And I've been there, guys. Like I said, I was a sick kid. Now, no medications, no allergies. If I get sick, which is rare, my partner's like, you never get sick. I'm like, my immune system is working the way it should. Like, the flu will go around, like you can see it going from person to person to person, and I'm like, oh, I guess I'm next. Nope. I don't get strep throat anymore. It's great. So coming from that background of sick kid, having these medications to being now and I don't get sick. If I do get sick, it's few and far between and it lasts 24 hours. I'm doing really well. And I just want you to know that there is hope because I've been there and now I'm here, but I'm still on this journey. Am I 100% like super active, super eating healthy, super unstressed? No. But am I way better than I was when I was sick all the time? Yes. So I'm going to give you tips also on how to slowly just make incremental changes to your health and you're going to feel so good. The human body is so fascinating. And if you've ever heard me talk before, you realize that I really think the human body is just this amazing system. And I have the opportunity and the privilege of having a background where I've dissected a body. I've held a brain, I've held a heart. Like I've looked at the bones, I've looked at the muscles, and I'm in awe. I just think it's fascinating, and it's such a beautiful system that we have, and it's so intelligent. And a lot of people nowadays are just like, because you get sick or because something happens, you're like, oh, my body's so stupid, I wish it just worked right. Well, the good news is it can. So an example is, if you ever break a bone, or if you ever get a cut in your skin, what heals that? You know, it's not the Band-Aid and it's not the cast. Those are modern medicine helping. And those are one of the few times like they help. But the human body's doing that. If you get a cut in your skin, it's healing that. You know, it's clotting, it's closing the skin, it's making new skin, it heals. The broken bone, the body's healing that. The cast is helping. It's keeping it in alignment so you're not doing something stupid to it. But the human body is reconnecting those bones and making them actually stronger than they were pre-break. So I want everyone, if you ever had that thought of, God, I wish my body just knew what to do, it does. Besides being able to heal itself, bone breaks, skin rips, all of that, we have this army of cells, specialized intelligent cells inside of us that are constantly surveying and checking and destroying pathogens, antigens, and cancer cells that both you and I have in us right now. So we both have harmful bacteria in us right now. We probably have a virus floating around somewhere, and we definitely have cancer cells in us. But the immune system, in its intelligence, is finding those, being like, hey, that cell doesn't look right, either containing it and not letting it get any further, or it's actually destroying it and getting rid of it and pushing it outside of the body. All of these processes are running in the background. It's our subconscious mind and the chemicals floating in our system that are conveying, hey, there's something over here, I don't think it's right. Let's have some other parts of this army come over here, check it out. This is all without us thinking about it at all. And that's a couple processes of the thousands of processes that your body's doing right now. Right now, you're making urine, you're making duty, you're converting oxygen into energy, you're breaking down your lunch or dinner. Your body's doing a lot of things without you thinking about it. Like, I'm moving my arms around and I don't have to think, oh, let me have my bicep contract this far, or my hand extend that far. No, I'm not thinking of any of that. It just happens because that's how the human body works. So the conscious mind of us trying to help our body out, and I'm gonna get into how we're kind of messing with it, but we can only do so much with our conscious mind. So if I have you like pat your head and rub your stomach, try it. You know, some of you are gonna be like, this doesn't work. And that's our conscious mind. So that mind can only do so much at a time, whereas our subconscious mind is running this system without us thinking about it. Point number one, the human body is smarter than we are, right? So it can do a lot of things without our conscious thought into it. Whereas when we try to use some conscious thought, maybe it doesn't work out so well, and we're more so interfering with processes than helping them out. The immune system is a body-wide system. So we have our lymph nodes. So if you've ever been sick and went to the doctor and they feel under your chin, they're trying to see if those lymph nodes under there are swollen. If they're swollen, that usually means that there's some kind of process or something has invaded the body that your body's trying to take care of and, you know, get rid of and neutralize. You have your spleen, which is on the lower left-hand part of your chest. And then we also have this big system inside of our gut that has a really crucial part of our overall health, overall immune system. When something happens, so say if we get an antigen, say it's a virus that enters our body, the first line of defense is very non-specific. And it's kind of like the paramedics coming out for a call. So they show up, they do blood pressure, they check heart rate, they maybe put some pressure on a wound. They do the basic things first, very non-specific. Once you get to the hospital, then that's when the second phase of our immune response happens. So that first general response is quick. It's that ambulance getting to that person. The second phase is slower because it's very specific. So that's like when you get to the ER and the surgeon comes out and brings you back to the OR and starts doing something very specific, whether it's closing up an artery or whatever it may be. So we have the two systems. We have that first very quick response, which is swelling, edema, bringing blood flow to the area, all of that. And then the second half of that is, and they work together, they're not just completely separate things, they overlap. The second half of it is where we get very specific, and it actually remembers whatever it's learned. So say, you know, virus A entered our body first detected it, coordinated all the other soldiers to come check that area out and do whatever it needs to do with that. But then that second phase, that slower, more specific phase, comes in and learns about that virus, that bacteria, whatever invaded us, and remembers it. So if it ever enters our system again, it knows what it looks like and it knows exactly what to do with it and just gets rid of it very quickly. I don't want to get into white blood cells, mast cells, basophils, eosinophils. Like, I don't want to get into all that because one, I just heard and felt some of your eyes rolling in the back of your head already. So I'm not going to talk about that, but I'm going to give you some examples of what happens when we get sick and what the body's trying to accomplish with that. So if you've ever woken up and you're like, oh God, I do not feel well. I'm achy all over, everything hurts. Like you throw the blankets off and you're like, oh my God, that's the worst feeling ever. I'm freezing. And then you start shivering and you pull the blankets back on and they're like, oh my God, now I'm hot. And you throw the blankets off and then you start shivering and you're like, okay. So your body, what it's trying to do with the shivering is it's activating your muscles and it's making them twitch because that creates heat. And what it's trying to do is it's trying to up your body temperature to give you a fever. And everyone's like, oh my God, you have a fever, that's horrible. No, that's your body doing what it should be doing. Because bacteria and all that like to live in the same environment that we live in, that 98.6-ish temperature. If our body realizes we've been invaded with something, that's why your doctor takes your temperature. Because if they see that your temperature is high, that means your body's trying to fight off something or kill something. And what a better way to do that than to increase the temperature and try to cook it off. The next thing is, say you got sick. So say you're vomiting or you have some explosive whatever. That's also your body trying to get rid of whatever has entered the body. And it's intelligent. And I know it doesn't feel good and I know it's inconvenient, but it's your body trying to flush out whatever has entered it. And you know, it's allergy season right now. So a lot of you are coughing, sneezing, mucus running everywhere, watery eyes. All of that is also your body trying to get rid of or capture the antigen or the pollutant or the pollen, I should say, that has entered the body. So if something enters your lung or your windpipe, your body's gonna sneeze or cough to try to get that out. When your nose is all runny and just like snot everywhere, it's your body increasing mucus to trap any cells or any particulate that enters our system. It traps it in the mucus, and you either cough it out or you swallow it. And if you watch the last talk, we have that stomach full of 1 to 2 pH acid just sitting in us. So if any pathogen or antigen hits that, it's going to probably kill it. And then we have these little teeny hair cells lining our lung tubes. And what those are, they're called cilia, and they just kind of push things out of the lungs constantly. And we're going to get into, if you're a smoker, how that may not work out so well. But we have all of these systems. We have the fever, we have the chills, we have the vomiting, we have sneezing, coughing, mucus, which we all agree doesn't feel good and it's inconvenient and you feel crappy. But if you feel crappy, that bacteria or that virus probably feels crappy as well. So let me get into real quick what viruses, bacteria, and cancer are, because I think it's kind of fascinating. So a bacteria is a single-celled organism that can live and reproduce outside of a host or the human body. And we take care of those with antibiotics if the human body gets overrun with them. The second one, viruses. Viruses are creepy. Viruses are these little alien-like organisms that have DNA in the center of them. And they cannot live outside of a host or outside of us. So what happens is, if that virus gets into us, it finds the nearest cell, because we're made up of cells, it invades that cell and injects their DNA into one of our cells and overrides and hijacks our cell, which then is now a virus replicating cell. So that virus cell just replicates, and more and more and more of that virus takes over our body. And no antibiotic is ever going to touch that. So a lot of people are getting antibiotics for viruses, or people who are like, I have the flu, like, give me an antibiotic. No, the flu is the rhinovirus. It's a virus. There's no antibiotic that's going to touch that. And then cancer, like I said, like, we have bacteria, viruses, and cancer cells in us right now. But in a cancer cell is just a cell, and when it copies itself, because again, we're constantly healing, we're constantly growing, we're constantly replenishing. The body you have now is not the same body you had 7 years ago. It's completely cycled through all of its cells, and this is a completely new system. It's a completely new body. So what happens is, when those cells are dividing, sometimes when it makes a copy, it misses a couple pages in the book, right? So instead of copying the whole book, maybe it left out a chapter, and then you get this like junk cell. So this junk cell, now this one disappears because it's old. This junk cell now takes over and starts multiplying and getting more and more junk cells. But the good news is that our immune system is constantly scanning our body and sees that and it's like, well, that doesn't look quite right. And then it inspects it more and it's like, nope, that's definitely not right. And then it surrounds those cells and either contains them or actually destroys them. So when people are like, oh, well, everything causes cancer. Yeah, kind of everything in 2019 does cause cancer. So it would behoove you to keep your immune system functioning at its best, because that is your only line of defense between that 1 or 2 weird mutated cells becoming full-blown cancer. So what's happening now? Right? So I've talked about how the human body is intelligent and how it's constantly searching for these bacteria, viruses, cancer cells all the time. So why do we get sick? Well, there's a couple reasons. And one is we're completely interfering with our body's ability to do what it just does naturally. And so the best example I have is what I hear and see every time someone gets sick and they post it on Facebook. And it drives me nuts. So this is going to be number 1. I'm going to get on my soapbox. Here it is. Oh, you know, I don't feel well. Oh, I have 101, 102 temperature. And then your friend's like, oh, I hope you took something. Oh, I did. I took some Tylenol. Okay, good. Yeah, I feel much better. Oh, my temperature's down to 98. I feel much better. Great, you feel better, But that medication, that Tylenol, just took care of a symptom. That's secondary. So symptoms are secondary symptoms because it came from something. And whatever caused that fever in the first place is still floating around in your body somewhere. And that Tylenol is now just inhibiting your body's response to that. So yeah, you might feel better because now you don't have the chills, you're not hot, cold, sweaty, all of that. But you just took out one of the most important aspects that your body's going to be doing to get rid of the virus, bacteria, whatever invaded the body. So number one, if you have a low grade fever, just let your body do its thing. The second thing I see is, oh, I have, say I have diarrhea. That's inconvenient. We don't want that. Again, your body's trying to get rid of something that invaded you. So then you take like Imodium AD, which stops the body from pressing, your intestines and pushing things out. So now whatever's in you is just staying in you. And so you're making it harder for your body to fight off whatever it's fighting. Cough suppressants. This is what I was talking about a second ago with the cilia. So if you're a smoker, if you smoke cigarettes, you have killed off those little teeny hair cells that are trying to push things out of your lungs. So a lot of smokers cough a lot because you got rid of that cilia, which is trying to push things out of your lungs. So now you're reliant on coughing to move whatever has built up in the lungs out. But then if you take a cough suppressant, then you have no way of getting that stuff in your lungs out because you're blocking your body's natural ability to take care of itself. Antacids. Antacids neutralize the stomach acid in your stomach, which we talked about as 1 or 2, which is very acidic, and that's going to kill anything that hits it. Well, if you take an antacid, that's putting a more basic element in there to neutralize the acid. And so you're taking rid of, or you're getting rid of that line of defense. And these aren't just like one thing that people are doing. Most people are doing like a combination of all these. So even with just that little example, you can see how we're interfering with our body's natural ability to heal. But wait, there's more. So nowadays, we're constantly stressed out, right? You're probably stressed out right now because I just talked to you about how we're kind of interfering with ourselves. But stress, as you go back to the first body manual talk, stress was supposed to be a good thing. The stress response was a good thing. If a tiger showed up and you needed to run away from that tiger or fight the tiger, your body is intelligent and it's diverting resources to where it needs to go. So it's taking blood from your digestive tract and shunting it to your legs and arms so you can fight or run away. And it's taking energy from your immune system and shunting that so you can also fight or run away. Because your body doesn't care if you're digesting an apple or if you're fighting off a cold or trying to repair a cut, if you're about to die in 3 seconds from this tiger. So it's diverting resources to what it needs to focus on. But nowadays, there's no tiger, there's no bear. It's us worrying. It's us thinking about something. It's us dreading our next car bill, what the boss might say, what our partner's going to say. All of that. So 24/7, we are hampering our body's ability to digest, which again, our intestines are a major part of our immune system. And it's just shutting down our immune system because, again, why am I taking care of a little cut in your arm if you're going to be eaten in 3 seconds? A good example for stress causing us to have issues, they did a study. They studied a group of people that were taking care of a family member that was like in hospice, like not doing so well. So that's a high stress environment, granted. Then they just test them against people that weren't in that situation. They just had like a baseline stress, which is still probably higher than it should be, but you get it. So what they did is they put like a little cut in their skin, same size in each, and they just waited. And they just wanted to see how long it took the control group to heal versus the people that were stressed out because they were taking care of someone. The people that were taking care of someone, so the people that were under this higher amount of stress, their cut took up to 7 days longer to heal than the people that were just under normal stress. Which makes sense. like I said, if we're worried about this tiger, you're not going to be worried about this little cut. And to go further into that, if your body thinks that you're in an environment that isn't sustainable for life, there's no good food here, you're constantly stressed out, and there's just a barrage of information coming to the body that it doesn't necessarily understand because, again, we're in this fake environment, then the body's going to stop healing because the cortisol and the epinephrine, the norepinephrine, and all that gets released in us when we're in that higher state of stress, which, again, nowadays is 24/7, those actually stop cells from healing and growing. Because why would we really try to keep living in an environment that's not, suitable for us? Just things to think about. Nowadays, we also do not sleep well. We're supposed to be getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep every single night. And I know a lot of you are like, oof, shit, I don't get that. You need to. Only when we're sleeping does our body have the ability to repair and heal and get rid of toxins that build up in our body throughout the day. If you've ever gotten a really bad night of sleep because the cat or dog is meowing or barking, or you're just stressed out, or something happened where you're actually just awake all night, if you have to function the next day, we all know how that's gonna go. You're gonna feel brain fog. You're gonna be like, God, I can't think right. I can't, do A plus B equals C. It's so much harder. And it's because at night when we're sleeping, the valleys in our brain actually open up to allow the cerebral spinal fluid to flush through them, to kind of wash them out and get rid of all the gunk that built up during the day, because it can't repair itself when it's running. It's like you have to restart the computer every once in a while, or else it's just not going to run correctly. So lack of sleep is interfering with our body's ability to heal and to repair itself. We are also malnourished nowadays. So talk number 3 I gave talks about how what we eat is all sugar, processed, bleached, stuck in a box, not fresh because it traveled from Brazil or someplace. We're eating so much meat and dairy, and it's just not good for us. Trust me on that, it's not good for us. Cut it way the hell down. So we are in a constant state of not having enough vitamins, minerals, and amino acids, and all of that. And so if we don't have the basic building blocks to keep us healthy, there's no way we have the resources on hand to fight off a cold, a virus, or anything like that, because we just don't have the resources. And we already have limited resources. So if you're feeding your body junk, junk is going to come out. One of the things I don't think people realize that we're doing, and that they actually think is a benefit, is we sterilize everything. We get the Clorox wipes out, we get the Lysol out, and we spray everything. And granted, there is a time and a place for all of that. But in everyday life, since we sterilize everything, especially if you have a child, and you're like, well, I don't want my kid to get sick, which, understandable, but if you're sterilizing everything, that kid is trying to learn from the environment, right? What's happening around him, what he's touching, what he's sticking in his mouth, on his eyes, all of that. If we're sterilizing everything and not exposing that kid to dirt, to bacteria, to pathogens, that system isn't learning. It's not able to recognize something that invaded because it's never had to deal with it before. And so when something really big happens, it just has no idea. It's so foreign and alien to the immune system. It's like, I don't know what to do. So if you have a baby or a child in a very sterilized environment, that kid's immune system is going to be shot when they get older because it didn't learn when it was young what to do now. Same with the cesarean section. Unless you're having like a natural childbirth, and I know there's reasons why you need a C-section. I get it. But if you're electing to have a C-section, or your doctor's electing you to have a C-section before we even tried, when the baby is coming out of the birth canal, it is exposed to so many immuno-boosting things that kid has a really good shot of having a great immune system. But if it's delivered via cesarean section, it's not exposed to any of that. And so that's limiting the amount of protection that that kid has. And if you're not breastfeeding or unable to breastfeed, that's also limiting your baby's ability to build its immune system up, to realize what's happening around it, and to be able to protect himself. When we're sick, we're also not taking days off. You're like, oh, my boss is going to kill me, I need to go in, or whatever the case may be. And again, it's common. We all know, we've all been to work sick. We've all seen a coworker go to work sick. But what's happening is, one, you're just spreading whatever you have around to everybody else, so everyone's going to thank you for that. And two, you're not allowing your body to rest. You're just go, 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 go. And then if you take something to like, oh, I took Dayquil, I feel better, you're not helping your body take care of it. So you're wasting energy, you're wasting resources on walking, driving, talking, all of that with your coworkers or that meeting or whatever, and you're not allowing your body the energy and the resources it needs to heal itself. So then you're just going to stay sicker longer, and then you're going to get pissed off because you're still sick. And then if you're sick, or you're like, oh, I don't feel that well, but my friend wants to go out, it's Friday, let's go out, and you go drinking, alcohol has free radicals that get released in our body, which are just really nuisances that go around the body and just wreak havoc. So if you're already not feeling well, and then you start drinking, or you start smoking a cigarette, the smoking a cigarette is going to constrict the blood vessels. So if you have like a scar that you're trying to heal or a wound you're trying to heal, good luck, because all those blood vessels are getting clamped down. So then there's no blood that's able to get to that area, and that area is not going to heal well. So as you can see, we're throwing all of this stuff at the body and interfering with it and just hoping that everything works out the way that we want it to. And I'm just telling you right now, we are just putting our body in such a disposition to try to heal itself, and then we wonder why we think that the body isn't as smart as it actually is. And what's happening now is we're starting to get autoimmune diseases, which means the body, and instead of just seeing like a bacteria or a cancer cell and attacking it because it knows that doesn't belong here, it's getting confused between them and our actual just normal healthy cells. So we have diabetes type 1, where the body attacks the pancreas, and so the pancreas isn't allowed to produce as much insulin or any insulin. And then we have diabetes. We have multiple sclerosis, where the body starts to attack the sheath on the outside of the nerve, which is going to cause short circuiting between the nerves and cause just a wide variety of pain, of not being able to move things correctly, tired, all of that. And it can get much, much worse. And then we have rheumatoid arthritis, which is different than osteoarthritis. Osteoarthritis is an overuse injury to a joint. If there's an RA, which is rheumatoid arthritis, that's when the body itself actually just attacks the joints. And because it thinks that the joint or the cells of your joint are foreign, are a different invader, and so it tries to get rid of those and destroys them. So our body is now getting confused, and it doesn't know which way is up. And that's kind of disheartening because, autoimmune diseases are more of a modern thing. Like, that wasn't happening way back when. So our body's getting confused because we're sticking it in this artificial environment, and then we're doing all of this stuff that I already went through, which is just hampering our body's ability to heal itself. So the other thing I want to touch on is the mind-body connection. And there is more and more and more research saying, if you think you're sick, if you think you're going to die, if you think you have X, Y, and Z, your body is going to mimic that. And there's been cases where someone has been misdiagnosed with cancer, and the person thinks they have cancer, And as the weeks and months go on, they get sicker and sicker, and they're bedridden, and they like stop breathing and they die. And then they do an autopsy and there's no cancer. There's nothing wrong with them. And there's other cases, and this is the placebo effect, and they test this with all medications. People on the fake sugar pill medication for X disease or X syndrome, some of those people get better, even though they were just getting a placebo or just getting a sugar pill. They did that with knee surgery. They had a whole bunch of people with knee pain, and some of the people got an actual surgery where they went in and cleared out the knee and like sucked some debris out and all that. And then some people, they didn't do anything. They didn't even pretend to do anything. And some people, they just put a little cut in the skin and then bandaged it over and said, yep, you had the surgery, when all they really did was just put a little cut in the skin. Those people that got just the cut in the skin compared to the people that had the full-blown surgery, their outcomes are pretty much the same. So if your brain, if your mind thinks, I'm better or I am getting better, you have a way, way better likelihood of getting better. And this isn't some voodoo weird shit. This is actual science. If you think you're going to get sick or you think you're not going to get better, you're not. If you have hope, if you think you are going to get better, if you can set your mind and be like, yes, I'm better, I'm already healthy, I'm doing what I need to do, you have a way better shot of healing than someone that has that negative mindset. So what can we do, right? I just went through all the ways that we're interfering with the human body and just, tying my hands behind my back and asking me to go to a fight. So what can we do to increase our immune system and not interfere with it so we don't get sick often? If we do get sick, it's for a very short period of time and then you're fine. Well, you have to stop doing everything I just talked about or start doing the things I did talk about. So if you're not getting enough sleep, you need to get 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep a night. This is every night. You need to eat healthy. You can't put junk in your body. You can't put junk gasoline in your brand new sports car and go try to drag race it, because it's not going to work the way it would if you put some really good gasoline in that car. I think one of the main things is, since we're such a stressed out society, if we can have an outlet to channel that stress into and stop worrying and listening to this monkey mind, whereas, and again, it's a survival thing. If there's a rattling in the bushes, your brain is going to be like, is that a tiger? And it's going to wonder and like check, because it'd rather be wrong 10 times and be like, oh, it's just the wind, compared to being wrong that one time when it is a tiger and you didn't do anything about it. So your brain is trying to think of all the things that could happen because it's trying to keep us alive, it's trying to keep us safe at all costs. But now since we're stressed out all the time and we have all of these things that we're worried about that we weren't supposed to be worried about, and it's just our society that's saying, hey, taxes, hey, blah, 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 your body's like, I don't know what to do. So if we can calm down that chatter, and a way to do that is, if you're doing something and your brain just starts going like, oh, like, what if there's a fire, or like, what if the roof collapses, or maybe not even anything that big, like, what if I miss my airplane, how do I get to my next flight, and blah blah blah. If you're constantly worrying about that, one, the best thing is just to realize, oh, that's just me, chattering. It's just that monkey in my brain, just like, you just have to, turn the monkey off and realize it's just you planning. It's just you worrying about something. So I think the best thing is just to realize that, one, you're doing it. And then once you get used to kind of checking yourself, being like, oh, I'm doing it again, or oh, I'm talking to myself negatively, or oh, whatever it may be, then you can implement things to change that. So if you're a shy person, which a lot of you don't think I am, but I am, and you were like sitting in the corner of a party one, I'm glad you went to the party, because some people would just say no and avoid the party altogether. So if you realize that that's a strategy for you to feel safe, one, you're feeding that monkey mind. You're saying, yes, you're right. Something bad would have happened at that party. I'm glad I stayed home. So what I want you to do is realize that that's a safety mechanism for you. That's a way for you to feel secure. So if you can go to the party and just be there, that's going to be great step one. Step two would be go to a party and not wait for someone to come up to you, but actually just put yourself out there, make yourself feel uncomfortable, and talk to someone at the party. And you don't have to be super funny. You don't have to be super smart. You could be boring. You can be boring once in a while. You don't have to be 100% in the bullseye. You just have to hit the target, right? So if you can realize that, oh, I said no to something because I'm worried about X, Y, and Z. So one, you're realizing that you're doing it. You're realizing that you're worried, or you're realizing you're doing a strategy to stay away from the anxiety of doing X, Y, and Z. But then if you can implement pretty much just the opposite of that worry. So I don't want to talk to someone because they're going to think I'm stupid. Go up and talk to someone. You're going to have rejection here and there, sure. But every time I've done this strategy, every time I've talked to someone and been like, just go do it, what's the worst that's going to happen? I've made some great friendships because of that. And it's opened new boundaries. And I feel way more comfortable talking to people, strangers, whatnot, than I did a couple years ago. So one, realizing that this chatter that you're having in your mind is just chatter. It's just your brain trying to protect you, but it doesn't need to be doing it that much. So we talked about sleep, we talked about stress, we talked about eating well. And then if you can just let your body do its thing. If you're sick and you have a fever, let the fever run its course. Now if it gets up to like 105, then we have an issue. But if it's 100, 102, 103, even 104, see how it goes. Keep monitoring it. But your body's doing that for a reason. It's trying to protect you. It's trying to do something to get rid of whatever invaded you. My takeaway from this whole talk is if you can just stop interfering with your body, because like we talked about, it's intelligent. It's been learning for millions of years and evolving for millions of years. And only recently, in the past 120 years, have we had electricity and then computers and all that came along. Only recently have we been so inundated with flickering screens, artificial light at night, completely flat surfaces, processed bad food, stress 24/7, and not sleeping well. And these all just kind of cycle. Like if you don't sleep well and then your pain threshold goes down, meaning something that may not have caused you pain like last week is going to cause you pain now, which is going to cause you to worry, which is going to cause you to not sleep as well. And then it's just a cycle. All of these kind of snowball. So if you can stop interfering with the body, if you can just think in the future, if you do get sick or something happens, be like, how was my body designed and how is it trying to heal itself? And am I interfering with that in any way? Because, you know, if you put a Band-Aid on a cut, you're helping. You know, you're keeping it clean. You're protecting it from other things entering it. So those are good things. If you wash your hands during flu season with just soap and water, just so you're not touching your eyes, nose, and mouth and introducing a bacteria or a virus, that's awesome. But we go too far because we're so heavily reliant on medication now. And medication has its place, but we are using it way too frequently now. And it's not our fault because we have been like honed and hammered with, you need this medication because without it, you're gonna have X, Y, and Z. And I'm telling you, you don't need half these medications that you see advertised to you. If you take responsibility and you eat healthy and you decrease your stress and you drink enough water and all of these things that we all know we should do, and stop relying on a pharmaceutical company which is just trying to make profits. What a better time than right now to be like, listen, I need to take responsibility for my health. And I did this and it worked for me, and so it can work for you. And only through my 15 years of education has it just confirmed that we have the ability to do this, because I've learned about all the processes that happen in the body, and it knows what to do. We just have to stop interfering with it. So if you think this talk can help someone, friend, family, whatever, send it to them, let them watch it. If they don't like it, they can do what they want with this information. I'm not trying to tell anyone or anything how to live their life. It's your life. You live it the way you want. But if you do, if you're that person that's like, listen, some of this information made sense to me, I'm gonna do what I want to do with it and what I can implement right now, please do it. And if you think it can help someone, share it with them, because if I'm talking just to a screen right now and no one hears this, it's not gonna help anyone.